evening, everyone. Welcome back. It's the Cat Whisperer, and it's time for one of my favorites, Random Facts Video Part 4. There is some storms going on in my area, so you might hear a little bit of rain and maybe some thunder getting picked up in the microphone. But sometimes a little bit of rain might help you fall asleep faster. So maybe the raindrops will help a little bit. Meanwhile, I'm going to go ahead and get started on some warm and snuggly bedtime facts that you may not have heard before, or maybe you have. So be careful, because you might learn something. Alright, let's begin. The little red-haired girl from Peanuts actually has a name. Her name is Heather. The most stolen food in the world is cheese. Rhode Island, the smallest U.S. state, is larger than 7 European countries. $3.7 trillion is lost each year in revenue due to bad customer service. There are more endangered species living in Hawaii than any other U.S. state. Hungary has won over 500 Olympic medals, the most for a country who has never hosted the Olympics. Kermit the Frog is left-handed. 7% of all people who have ever lived are still alive. The infinity symbol is called a lemniscate. The restaurant chain Moe's Southwest Grill only plays music on their speakers by artists who have died. 45% of Americans say they argue over the thermostat. Spandex is an anagram for expands. It takes about 2.5 pounds of grapes to make 1 bottle of wine. The first TV commercial aired in 1941 during a baseball game. In 94 countries, slavery is still legal. The Super Nintendo video game for Home Improvement did not come with an instruction manual. It just said, "Real men don't need instructions." A group of hedgehogs is called a prickle. The term pipe dream comes from fantasies people had from smoking opium. Musical tinnitus is the medical term for a song getting stuck in your head. Despite what has been said in television, movies, and any media, it's impossible to dig a hole to China. Walt Disney won 22 Oscars. Bourbon is the only spirit exclusively made in the United States. The only disco album to win Grammy for Album of the Year was the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. Also, there was only one Grammy Award for Best Disco Record. It went to I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor. Per capita, Portugal has more divorces than any other country. Despite starring together in Star Wars, Carrie Fisher and James Earl Jones never met face to face until 2014, when they appeared on the same episode of The Big Bang Theory. If you mix alcohol with diet soda instead of regular soda, you will get drunk faster. The mortar used in the Great Wall of China included sticky rice. Percentage-wise, Singapore has more English speakers than the United States. Originally, ketchup was made from mushrooms. The spandrel is the space that's underneath a staircase. You are 39% more likely to get a hemorrhoid than to keep your New Year's resolution. Prairie dogs greet each other by kissing. On average, about 20 lawsuits are filed against Walmart every day. In Manitoba, Canada, there is a jail for polar bears. In Wisconsin, you have to get a license to make cheese. Half of all people who purchase vinyl music do not own a record player. Channing Tatum once made $400 for playing a bartender in a Ricky Martin music video. There are only 8 grams of gold in an Olympic gold medal. Chuck Norris's real first name is Carlos. Michael Bivins of New Edition is credited for discovering Boyz II Men. In the original Beetlejuice movie, the title character is only seen on screen for 17 minutes. New York was originally called New Amsterdam. It had that name for 38 years until the British took it over from the Dutch and renamed it. Lethologica is the scientific term for the inability to remember the correct word. The word muzhiks, which is a term for a Russian peasant, is the biggest 7-letter word in Scrabble that earns you the most points. In 1860, during the peak of slavery, only 1.6% of Americans actually owned slaves. Current Corinthian leather was invented in New Jersey. Singer Alanis Morissette coined the phrase "friend with benefits." If you have misophonia, you hate the sound of someone breathing or chewing. So if you've got misophonia, a lot of ASMR triggers do not work on you. 1 out of 5 mammals in the world is a bat. Your thumb is the only finger that can touch all of your other fingers. Converse All-Stars, considered the first basketball shoe, have not been worn in an NBA game since 1980. Spring is the season where kids grow the most. The QR in a QR code stands for Quick Response. Despite being the Queen of Egypt, Cleopatra was actually Greek and reportedly spoke up to 9 different languages. About 2/3 of all the elements on the periodic table are contained in an iPhone. In 1901, homework was banned in California for anybody under the age of 15. Sunsets on Mars are blue. The most littered item in the world is cigarette butts. And finally, if you live in the Northern Hemisphere, you are in the majority, as only 10% of the world population lives in the Southern Hemisphere. And on that note, regardless of which hemisphere you live in, I wish you